Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Grissa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am taking a break from Christmas. In fact, I think I'm going to put Christmas behind me altogether, even though it's only December 14th today, and move on to some projects that feature products from the annual catalog. Now, you may be thinking, oh, that's old news. Why is she featuring products that have been around for 6 months? Well, let me tell you, that annual catalog came out and was so chock full of awesome products that I ordered a ton of stuff. And then the new holiday catalog came out and I ordered a ton of stuff from that. And I've been featuring holiday product ever since. So I have a whole shelf full, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, a whole shelf full of annual catalog product that I haven't even used yet. So for the next, for this week, I decided to focus on a product suite that I love. It's actually my very favorite from the annual catalog that I haven't really had much time to play with. So we are all about the Expressions in Ink suite this week. Now, as I mentioned, this is in the Stampin' Up! Annual catalog. Came out way back in June, May? Long time ago, 6 months ago. And I have barely given this awesome suite any attention. So I had a great play with it this weekend. I've got 3 really fun projects to share with you, and then I'm going to give you a sneak peek of an upcoming virtual class that I'm going to be offering that also features this suite. Because it's such a gorgeous suite, it deserves the extra attention. Now, I know we're all excited about the new mini coming out and about Celebration. They both start at the beginning of January. And I'm sure you're dying to see sneak peek products from that. Don't worry. I am still going to do my Celebration countdown. I've been doing that now for a couple of years. And so I'll be counting down the week before Celebration starts. So basically starting December 27th, I think. 6, something like that. I'm going to be counting down 7 days to Celebration and featuring a different Celebration product each day. So don't you worry, you'll get to see some new stuff. I'm also going to be hosting my catalog launch party on the first day of the catalog, Tuesday, January 4th, I believe it is. And I'll give you more details about that as we get closer to the date. But today we're all about annual catalog. So let me pull up my video here and see who is joining me. Who is here? Hi, Tracy. Good to see you. Hi, Antoinette, Linda, Bonnie. I know it wasn't orderable for a while, which is part of the reason I didn't get to it, because when I was ready to feature it, the DSP wasn't available. So the DSP is like part of my favorite part of the suite. So I had to wait until it was. So here you go. You're getting a little feature on the Expressions in Ink suite. Okay. All right. Oh, we got Jill and Judy. Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. All right. I'm going to flip the camera. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes about the bundle, and then we're going to get to some stamping. Okay. Here we go. Let me do the flip so you don't have to look at me do my little acrobatic act here. All right. There we go. Okay. I think we are set. We are relatively centered. Looking okay. I'm just kind of looking at it on my iPad. Yeah, we're looking okay. All right, so here we have the bundle. Now, this suite also features an ephemera pack. It features gorgeous DSP. I'm focusing on the bundle today, but you're also going to see some of the elements from the other products, okay? So the suite, fabulous stamp set. This is my new favorite stamp. You're going to see why in a couple minutes. Absolutely love this stamp. We have some sort of abstract florals and then beautiful sentiments in sort of funky fonts that I really kind of like. They're all sort of different. And then, of course, we have the awesome dies. Now, these dies coordinate with stamp images, and then we have these fabulous detailed dies, and we're going to see those in action today as well. Okay, so that's the bundle, and we're going to get right to it. First project we're going to work on today is this one. Now, I designed this it's going to actually post on my blog tomorrow as part of our Stamping Symphony team blog hop. We hop every 15th of the month, and this month our focus or our sort of theme is thanks. So I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a Christmassy kind of theme. Could be kind of Christmas as a thank you card, because I don't know about you, but I like to send thank you cards when I receive Christmas gifts after the holidays. So this is the one we are going to start with, and I don't think it shows on the camera, but this is super shimmery and sparkly. It's got lots of Wink Stella on it. All right, so we are going to start with a piece of basic white cardstock. It is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay, basic card front. And we're going to use this awesome sort of splotchy stamp from the Artistically Inked stamp set. Now I'm just going to quick show you my color palette here. Should probably take Just Jade down to the bottom. So I used a ton of pinks and oranges, and then a little bit of Just Jade for the leaves. So you're going to see all of these in action. To create my background, I'm going to use these 3 to start. Okay, so we are going to work from light to dark. So I'm going to bring in my petal pink to start. Hi, Julie. I'm going to ink up my splotchy stamp here, and I'm just going to stamp a few times. My petal pink is getting dry. I've used it a lot this weekend. We're going to add, and the cool thing about this stamp is it doesn't really matter if you overstamp or if you do second generation. You can kind of get away with just about anything with this stamp. Like, look at how cool the layers look, okay? And the really cool thing is I can flip it both ways. I can do it this way, right? Or I can flip it around and get just a really cool sort of mottled splotchy background, okay? So that is my petal pink. Then I'm going to come in with some Flirty Flamingo, and because I'm going from light to dark, I don't need to clean my stamp in between, which is just an added little bonus here. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of Flirty Flamingo, and look at how that just brings the whole thing to life here. Add a little bit here, a little bit there. I don't want to completely cover because I still want to see a bit of the petal pink coming through. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with my Calypso Coral. Hi, Louise. I am going to be taking a break next week. I'm actually going to talk about that. Next week, I am taking the week off. I'll talk about that at the end to remind everybody, but there will be no live at 5 next Tuesday. I'm taking the week before Christmas. I'm done work at school, and I'm just going to take that week to really relax and enjoy the lead up to Christmas. All right. Not that I don't enjoy hanging out with all of you. Let me just make that clear. You guys are a ton of fun to spend time with on Tuesdays. But sometimes even crazy stampers like me need a little break. Okay, so there is my splotchy background. So I just added a little bit of Calypso Coral. I didn't do a ton, again, because I just wanted to make sure I was still seeing the other 2 colors come through. But isn't that just a beautiful sort of abstract background? I absolutely love it. All right, so that's it. That's all there is to it. We're going to set this stamp aside for a minute, and we're going to bring in our other elements. Now, I've done a whole bunch of this ahead of time, just in the interest of time. I have stamped and heat embossed the thanks sentiment in gold and then die cut it out using the seasonal labels dies. Now, those ones are carrying over, so if you haven't had a chance to snag those from the holiday catalog, they will continue to be available, okay? So that's some really good news. Now, I also stamped and die cut this sort of, it looks kind of like to me a ranunculus, but I want to quickly show you how I did that because it looks, well, you'll see in a minute. So I started by stamping it in Pale Papaya. So I'm going to just bring that in for a sec. So I'm going to ink up my Pale Papaya and I'm going to stamp. Okay, quite light. Again, my ink pads are getting quite dry. I was tempted to re-ink, but the challenge with these distinctive stamps is if you re-ink, sometimes they get too juicy and then you don't get great images. So I've done my Pale Papaya. Now I'm just going to bring in my Poppy Parade. I'm going to ink this up. This one's also really dry. And I'm going to stamp right over top of this image. Now I'm not really taking a ton of time to try to line it up or make sure it's perfect. I'm just going to over stamp it. Okay, it looks a little bit blurry and a little bit watercolored, but that's okay because you're going to see in a minute that we're going to actually blend out those colors anyway. But that's how I got that sort of almost double toned effect. Okay, super easy. You don't have to worry about trying to be precise when you're lining it up. Okay, then I stamped some leaves in Just Jade. So I did 2 pairs, and then I did a third pair, but I actually cut 1 leaf on off for my sample, and I'm going to use the other one for this project. Okay, then I have some die cut detailed gold leaves. So these are all cut from that long, almost vine-like die. Okay, and I cut these from the Rose Gold and Gold metallic paper. It is in the annual catalog as well. Easy to miss, gorgeous paper. It's kind of got a brush look. Absolutely love it. So I've got a bunch of leaves that I cut from that. And then this is just a section. Where did I put my dies? It is just a section of this die cut. It's actually this bit right here. So, you know when you have little scraps and you don't want to throw it out because this is such gorgeous paper. So I just had a little scrap and I just cut a little smidge of this die cut out of that little scrap, and I'm going to use it on my project. Okay, so that's another way to use up your scraps and not end up feeling bad about throwing them out, or worse yet, hoarding them for, you know, years to come. All right, so we are first going to go ahead and adhere our flower to the right end. Uh-oh. Seal is empty. I have a backup. Look at that. See how quick that was? That was impressive, right? All right, so we're going to pop this on just to that right end of my label there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some leaves. So I'm going to kind of arrange them in behind my die cut flower. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some more tape to the back of my flower. And I just find that by adding a bunch of tape, it just makes it easier to kind of arrange and have things stick where I want them as I'm doing it. Okay. And then we're going to add one more down here. Now I'm going to kind of angle this so I don't get that, you can't tell that it's trimmed off of a pear. Okay. Then I have some of my detailed leaves here. I'm going to add a few of those sort of in behind. Now I'm going to have to add a little bit more tape to the back of my leaves so these guys stick. And again, this is just floral arranging, guys, right? We've talked about this before. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to kind of play around with placement. You know what? I don't like my green leaves up there. They're too close together. So we're going to peel these guys off and we're going to move them down. That's better. And this guy's going to move over. There we go. That's more balanced. Okay, so now we can add some of our detailed leaves. Let's put one here. No, we're going to put one down here like that. And then I'm going to trim off a couple more from here. And I'm going to get rid of that little stem bit because I don't need it. Now I could trim these off individually, but why? I can glue 2 at a time. Okay, so there we go. And then we're going to add this little detailed die cut piece, and it's just going to kind of tuck in behind just like that. Okay, I'm going to lose all that sort of nastiness where I only got part of the die cut, and I'm just going to adhere it just like that. Isn't that pretty? So simple, so easy. And I actually don't like the way that guy's hanging. We're going to move him down a little bit. Sticking out a little too far, we're going to grab a glue dot there and just change his position here a little bit. We'll tuck him back a bit. There we go. That's better. Okay, so that's all there is to it. Now I did on my sample add some of the ephemera pack leaves, and I forgot to get those out, so let me grab them. Now here's a little storage tip for you. I actually pop all of my bits out of the ephemera pack, sort of the negatives that they come in, and then just store them all. These are our old half-width stamp storage containers. I use a ton of these. I bought a bunch when they were going away, and it's just a handy way to store them so that they're easy to access. So I'm going to add this little set of 3 probably down here. So again, I'm going to add a little bit more tape to the back of my arrangement here, and we'll just kind of tuck these guys. I don't want my leaves to stick out too far because I don't want them to hang off the edge of my card. We'll go that way. You know what? That guy's sticking out too much too. We're going to tuck him back. Do not be afraid to cut up your die cuts and your ephemera bits. If it's not working for you, cut them up and work with them individually. Sometimes when you have a set of 3 like that, it doesn't quite sit where you want it to. So cut it up. It's easy. Okay, all right, the last touch on the back of this is to add some gold cord. So again, I'm just gonna add some tape to the back of my sort of mess here. And I'm just gonna take and let this loop. So this is the elegant, Simply Elegant trim. It comes in the gold and the silver. And it tends to coil on its own. So as you take it off the roll, you're gonna see that it's just gonna kind of loop all by itself. So the key with this stuff is not to fight it. Just go with the flow. Whatever it wants to do, you kind of let it do. It helps to have your tape down so that you're not kind of trying to fuss with tape and the cord. Oh, and look at that. A whole bunch just fell off the roll. That was elegant. All right, so let's see if we can make this happen here. There we go. We're going to add another little loop. I want one down at the bottom there. So we're going to add one just sort of there and then check it. Isn't that pretty? Super simple. Looks like a hot mess on the back, but from the front, it looks really, really pretty. Okay, so now it's just a matter of adding some dimensionals to adhere this to our background panel here. I am going to add a fair number of dimensionals. It's going to help to secure that gold cord as well. I'm kind of overlapping the cord in a couple of places. You just want to be careful that you're not putting dimensionals where you're going to see them through your die cut leaves. Okay, so then we're going to get rid of our backings. And we're going to pop this on. And it's going to go onto our background. Again, we want to try and get our sentiment straight. So it always helps to start with your background panel straight, right? And see what I was worried about? The leaves sticking out. They're still sticking out a little far, but we're going to pretend they're not for now. Okay, see how that's out a little far? That's going to be a problem when we put it in the envelope. So if I had more time and I weren't live, I would take that off and move it in a little bit so it doesn't stick out. But I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so then we are going to adhere this to a Poppy Parade cardstock base. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we'll just fold that in half along our score line. Crisp it up with our bone folder. And then a little bit of tape to secure it to the front. And I'll just pop her on there. Just like that, hopefully straight. And then I've got some little gold metallic pearls. I thought these were just a subtle little hint of gold, a little bit of an accent to add to our sort of arrangement here. So we're just gonna add a couple of these. All right, and then the magical touch is to bring in our Wink of Stella. So remember how I mentioned that I did some blending on my flower here? So all I'm going to do is take my Wink of Stella and I'm going to start blending out the ink. Can you see it blending? Can you see how the colors are sort of meshing? It's kind of turning from the real Poppy Parade, and it's kind of pulling in some of that pale papaya that's in behind. So I'm just going to take and blend that out. So you can use your Wink of Stella as a blending brush to blend your ink. Now you don't want to do too much because it will start to sort of deteriorate your cardstock after a while, but you can certainly blend that ink and pull it out. And the extra bonus is that you get a beautiful sparkly flower when you're done. Isn't that pretty? So after doing that, then I'm just going to take and flick some more Wink. I want to make sure that it's flowing because I want to make sure I actually get some sparkle on here, and this will not show up on the camera, but I'm basically just taking and flicking the brush of my Wink of Stella against the lid so that it gives me a beautiful, subtle, shimmery background on this card. Okay, you can't see it. You might be able to see it a little bit better, I don't know, on the dry one, but such a pretty effect, and just a really subtle little hint of pixie dust there on your project. Okay, on the inside I kept it super simple, just added another basic white layer, did a little bit more stamping, same way I did on the front, using the same colors, and then left lots of room for a written message. Okay, so that's project number 1. Hope you like that. Let me clean up my mess here a bit. I have too many stamps, or too many ink pads out rather. So we're going to set that one aside and set these aside. And then I'm going to bring in our next project. So our next project is this one. Whoop, this one. I posted this yesterday. I am not a huge fan of purple, but I gotta tell you, I love the purples in our color family lineup right now. I'm loving Fresh Freesia, which is part of the In Colors, and then Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape. They're just three gorgeous shades of purple, and they work so well together. So I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful, it looks like sort of a really complicated blended background, just using some ink and a stamp. Okay. All right. So again, here are my purples. We've got Fresh Freesia, Highland Heather, and Gorgeous Grape. These two look like the same color. It's just because this label has faded. This is actually quite a bit darker than this one. And I'm going to use that fabulous splotchy sort of stamp from the stamp set again. And then I have here a piece of Fresh Freesia cardstock. Again, it's cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches, just like on our last card. And again, I'm going to work from light to dark. So I'm going to bring in my Fresh Freesia ink and ink up my stamp here. And I'm just going to start stamping around the edges of my cardstock. I'm not being super careful. I'm not really trying to rotate the stamp. I'm just kind of working my way around. You can see I'm doing this really quickly. Okay, essentially I want to have a little bit of a rectangle that is uninked in the center. Okay, that's all there is to it. Doesn't look like much right now, but we'll get there. Okay, so that's the Fresh Freesia. Then I'm going to come in with the Highland Heather. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I don't want to come on quite as far with the Highland Heather, all right? Because I want to make sure that I still see some of that Fresh Freesia in behind. So again, I'm coming in, stamping all the way around the outside. I'm going to layer a little bit more. There's not really a wrong way to do this. You're just building up layers of color here, okay? But you can see already we're getting a really cool textured background, and those two purples are blending beautifully. Okay, so that is the Highland Heather. Then I'm going to come in with the Gorgeous Grape and do the same thing. Now this time I'm going to stay fairly, just come on from the edges just a little bit. I don't want to come on too far, because again, I don't want to cover up the lighter colors with my Gorgeous Grape. So we're just going to kind of work our way around. Do you see that? Okay, and if I want to darken certain areas, I can just come in and add a little bit more in certain spots. As I rotate my stamp, I get different sort of textures, different layers. It's just really fun to play with this stamp. I love it so much. Isn't that cool? All right, then this is a really important step. I'm gonna come back with my Fresh Freesia after I get rid of most of the Gorgeous Grape on this, of course, because I don't want to put my Gorgeous Grape in my Fresh Freesia ink pad. That would be a little bit of a mess. So I'm going to come back with Fresh Freesia, and I am going to very generously stamp the whole thing, again, leaving that center bit in the middle uninked. But I'm going to come back in with the Fresh Freesia and go over the entire thing again with the Fresh Freesia. And that is going to really pull those colors together and blend them out. Okay, so it's the same kind of principle. I've done ink blending in several videos before. So this last step is sort of the secret to success when you're blending ink, and that is coming back with the lightest shade and kind of doing one last pass to pull in all the colors together. But isn't that a beautiful textured background, all with one splotchy stamp? So pretty. All right, that is that. Now let's pull in our other bits here. Now I have to admit, when I was making this card, it was one of those times. Do you ever have times when you're making a card and you just keep adding stuff and you can't really stop? And you kind of need somebody to come in and say, okay, enough already. Well, sadly, I don't have anybody that lives in my house that can do that for me. So I just kept adding stuff. This card has a lot going on. So to begin with, we are going to add a little bit of this gorgeous white glittered organdy ribbon. Hi, Julie from Ohio. How are you? So again, I'm going to add a glue dot to the end of my ribbon here, and it's going to go just a little bit below center. Okay, I'm not going to put it right in the middle, but a little bit below. And we'll trim that off the roll. We're going to add another glue dot to the other end so that we can secure it to the back. Okay, just make sure that's straight. Okay, just like that. Then we are going to go ahead and add one of our square vellum doilies. Now, you've often seen me use these. I cut them into circles and do all kinds of funky things with them. This time we're going to use it just as is. Again, I just wanted a subtle little bit of texture to add to my sort of overall layered look here. Just getting rid of some of my little negative bits there. And I'm going to add a bit of tape just smack in the middle of my card. And I'm just going to stick my doily down. Kind of just like that. Okay, I'm not, whoop, that's a little bit below. Let's just make sure that's centered on the card. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the fact that the tape is showing through because it's all going to get covered up. Okay, next I have one of the larger blossoms that I've stamped and die cut. Now I did the same basic technique that we did on the first flower for this one, except I used Fresh Freesia and Highland Heather as my two shades. So I stamped in Fresh Freesia first. Actually, why don't I show you? I've got scrap cardstock here. I'm going to show you. It's always better to show than tell. That's the teacher in me. All right, so we're going to ink up our sort of splotchy flower. And we'll stamp it on some scrap. Okay, isn't that pretty just as it is? I love the shading that you get with these stamps. So pretty. And then I'm going to bring in my Highland Heather. And we'll ink that up. And again, I am just going to try to layer this. I'm not trying to be precise, okay? It's not going to be perfectly layered, okay? See how it's a little off? That's okay. That's part of the look, okay? If you don't like that look, you can always get a two-tone effect by applying your ink with a dauber. So you can start ink up with your Fresh Freesia and then apply a little bit of the Highland Heather to accent it. That's a totally different look, but you could totally do that and not get the sort of blurred edges. But I actually kind of like that look for this card. All right, so that's how I did my flower. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut it in half. And we are going to adhere 1/2 to one end of our die cut label and the other half to the other end. Okay, so it's just going to kind of go on like this. Now I should mention, this label was also die cut using the seasonal labels dies, and then I embossed it using the Pretty Flowers embossing folder, which is another beautiful embossing folder from the annual catalog that is so easily missed because it's not part of a product suite. So if you haven't noticed this one, go to the very back of the catalog, find the section with all of the dies and embossing folders, and check out the Pretty Flower embossing folder. Okay, so I've just added the 2/2 of my flowers behind, or my flower behind my label. And then I have another of the gorgeous vine die cut. This time I've used the rose gold paper that comes in that golden rose gold pack. Again, it's got that same brushed sort of effect. I'm going to cut my vine apart because, again, it's easier to work with smaller bits. Okay, so I'm going to start by adding a pair of leaves behind this flower. So again, tape is our friend. We're going to add a little bit to the back so that we can easily arrange our flowers. Okay, so there's one. And then we're going to add another pair sort of down here. And then I'm actually going to cut these apart because I only want individuals here. We're going to add an extra sort of in the middle. Now this one I'm going to have to add a glue dot because I'm out of tape. I've covered it up with my first set of leaves there. So we're just going to add this guy kind of in the middle. Now if you don't like that, actually, you know what? I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to put it sort of lopsided, make it a little bit asymmetrical. We're going to add this guy down there. Why not? We totally can. Stamping on the fly, designing on the fly. We'll put this one down here like that. Okay, there we go. Super simple, right? All right, now we have a little 1/2-inch strip of Fresh Freesia cardstock. On that, we are going to stamp our happy birthday sentiment. And I'm going to stamp that in Gorgeous Grape, just to kind of keep our purple flow going here. So I love stamping on lighter colored cardstock with a shade or two darker of the same color. It's a really nice effect. Now I'm going to cross my fingers and toes and hope that this is straight because I can't look straight down on it. It's not bad. We can live with that. And then I'm going to grab my tailor tag punch and we're going to notch our ends into a little banner. So I'm just going to slide my strip in to the top of the punch and nip out a little bit of a banner. That's not very centered. We might have to redo that. Let's see if we can fix that up a bit. That one's better. Let's see if we can fix that a bit. That was not centered at all. There we go. That's better. Okay. All right. So then that is going to go onto our white label, popped up with a couple of dimensionals. So we'll go 1 and 2 and 3. And we'll pop that onto our label. Now I'm kind of looking at the bumps on the end of my label. And again, I'm going to start with it straight on my grid paper in the hope that it'll actually stick it down straight. Always best to start with a straight background. Okay, isn't that pretty? Now that, I almost put it on my finished one, is going to go on right over top of our pretty doily there. So again, we're going to add, you got it, some dimensionals. Now, if you are concerned about the thickness and mailing, you could always glue this down flat. It does not have to be popped. I just have a little bit of a dimensional problem and I pop everything. So I don't worry about the mail. I just put a stamp on it and stick it in and away I go. I am kind of one of those ask forgiveness rather than permission kind of people. So now this is going to go so that my happy birthday kind of runs parallel to my ribbon, but not over top of it. Okay, so I'm going to kind of center it on my card right about there. Okay, and then we're going to put it on our card base. So our card base here this time is thick basic white. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So again, we'll fold that in half. I have inky fingers. I think I'm leaving purple fingerprints on everything. It's okay. This will get covered. So we're going to go ahead and add some tape to the back of our panel. And pop this guy on. Now, if you are not a purple lover, you could totally replicate this card in any 3 shades. Like you could do it in blues, you could do it in pinks, you could do it in reds, oranges, so many possibilities, right? Okay, a couple of last touches. We're gonna tie a bow with our pretty glittered organdy ribbon. So 2 bunny ears, cross left over right, and around and through. Okay, and then you really have to tease the bow out with this ribbon because the glitter on here, it does tend to grab and it's a little bit finicky to tease your bow out of. So if you are struggling with this ribbon, just be patient and just know that you're gonna have to work with it a little bit to get your pretty bows. Okay, don't be afraid of tying bows with this ribbon. They really are quite lovely, but it does take a little bit of extra effort, as you can see, because as you pull, it loosens your knot. So you have to kind of work at it a little bit. Okay, but I love that the iridescent glitter in this ribbon picks up the purple from my card. It's just magical. So we're going to go ahead and add a glue dot to the knot of our bow. Oh, thanks, Peggy. I'm glad you like it. We're going to tuck this in right sort of at the bottom right corner of our sentiment, and so it overlaps the ribbon that runs in behind. And then the last touch is to add some of these sort of iridescent sequins. These are self-adhesive sequins that are part of the ephemera kit. So we're going to add a few, and again, it works beautifully with the iridescent glitter in the ribbon, and picks up the purple on the card. It's just, oh, so pretty. All right, so there we go. Added our little sequins. And we're done. Now on the inside of this one, I actually don't like what I did on the inside of this one. See, isn't that ugly? I don't like that. So I'm probably going to end up covering that up with a white panel and starting from scratch because I don't like the way that that ended up. But there you go. See, sometimes I screw stuff up and I'm going to be upfront and honest about it. I don't like it. It's ugly. People always go, oh, I'm sure your ugly stuff is beautiful. No, it's ugly. It's just plain ugly. So there we go. There is number 2. And finally, number 3, this is a quick and easy wow. So I am all about quick and easy when it comes to making cards because, well, I work full time
And I don't have a ton of time, especially when it comes time to make cards for me to give to friends and family. So I wanted a really quick and easy wow wedding or anniversary card, and this one totally fits the bill. So easy. You've probably seen this fun fold before. It's been around for a long time. I don't know what it's called, so I can't tell you. But it's just a couple of extra score lines from your basic card base. Okay, so I started out, this is thick basic white cardstock. It is 8.5 by 5.5, so it's a half sheet. And I scored at 2 inches, 3 1/8, 5 3/8, and 6.5. Now, if you didn't catch those measurements, I will put all the measurements in the video description afterwards in case you want to replicate this card. Okay, so I've got my score lines done. So the first score line here, I am going to fold down like this. Nope, I'm going to fold up. Sorry, guys. I'm going to fold upwards like this. Okay, the next one I'm going to fold down. Okay, so I kind of made a valley and a mountain, right? Valley, mountain. Okay, I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to do the same thing. So valley and mountain. All right, so that is it. That is the foundation of my card. Super simple. The finished card ends up being 4 by 5.5 inches, so it's a little bit narrower than a standard card, but who cares? It's pretty. I like it. Okay. All right, so then to add our prettiness, we have some of this gorgeous Expressions in Ink designer paper. Now, let me just figure out, yeah, this was cut from this. So I started out, this piece was 5 1/4 inches, and each of these is 1 3/4. So it's gonna go, they're gonna go on either panel, and I actually cut so that they kind of continue, the flow kind of continues there, so it looks like it's cut from a larger piece. So let's glue those on. So we'll add a little liquid glue. I like using liquid glue on fun folds just so I can adjust as I need to. So we're going to go ahead and add that and hopefully get it straight on there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other flap here. So I'll add this guy. Oh, is that the way it went? Yep. Almost did it upside down, guys. Could have been a, well, I don't think it would have been a disaster. It's hard to tell with this paper. Probably could have gotten away with it. All right, so there we go. Okay, so that's our background. And then for the center, I wanted it to be very bridal. So I thought, well, what's more bridal than white lace, right? So all I did is I took a 2 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white cardstock, and I again embossed it using that Pretty Flowers embossing folder. It is a gorgeous folder. It's beautiful embossed and debossed. In fact, I'm going to use the debossed version on this card. So it is going to get glued on that center panel. Okay, so it's kind of a tone-on-tone effect. And we'll pull in our liquid glue again, just so that we can get that centered. And when I'm gluing this, I just kind of want to pay attention to my side panels and try to make sure that the edges here line up. So it just looks kind of continuous and just looks neat and tidy. Okay. Just like that. Then I have, oh, look at this gorgeous die cut. This is so beautiful. Again, it's the detailed die cut from the rose gold metallic paper, and it's so pretty. Now, one of the challenges with this paper is it is like, it's a little finicky to die cut. Like, you have to run it through a couple of times. And if you put adhesive sheets on the back, it's extra finicky. So you can do it. You just have to be prepared to go back and forth a couple of times in your machine. So this one, I didn't really want to put adhesive sheets on the back because I knew it was going to extend sort of off the edges of my center panel here, and I didn't want it to stick to the background of my card. So all I'm going to do is take and put a couple of strips of tape down, and we're just going to plop this right in the middle where it's going to go. Okay, keeping in mind that that tape is going to get covered by our pretty embossed and die cut label. So for this label, again, I use the seasonal labels dies. I heat emboss my sentiment in gold, okay, to pick up the gold metallic on the DSP. And then I die cut it using the seasonal labels. Okay, now we're also going to pull in some more of the ephemera because it's just magical. So I'm going to add, let's see, what do we got here? Oh, we've got the same one that I used on my sample. So we'll use that guy. So we're going to just go ahead and glue this right to the end of the label. So it's just going to kind of hang out there. I'm just going to use a glue dot to do that. So we'll fold this over and we're going to stick that down. Come on. There we go. I'm very happy to say I just opened a new roll of glue dots, and they are not as nasty as these. This is a roll I've been fighting with for about a month now, and I'm very happy to be almost finished it. All right, so this is actually going to get popped up in the center of our detailed die cut, just making sure that we're covering up that tape that we put down. So I'm gonna add a couple of dimensionals to my label. And then we're just gonna center that and get it hopefully straight on our detailed die cut piece there. So I'm kind of looking at the bumps on the end to make sure that this is centered. Okay, pretty just like that, but will be prettier with a pretty taffeta bow. So this is our crinkled seam binding ribbon. It actually ties very beautifully because it's very fine and ties a nice tight knot. So we're just gonna pull our loops and get them close to the size we want, and then just pull that nice and tight. And you can get a really nice, pretty little bow there. Let's just make that loop a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna trim off my tails, and I'm gonna leave them a little bit longer because I kind of, you know how bridal bouquets sometimes have ribbon sort of hanging from them? I thought it'd be kind of pretty to sort of echo that. So I'm gonna, again, add a glue dot, but this time I'm gonna roll my glue dot into a little booger so that it doesn't show behind my knot. I'm gonna add it right to sort of the base of my stem there. And then I'm going to adhere my bow just like that. Isn't that pretty and so easy? Like so easy. Okay, last little touch again. Every wedding card should have pearls, right? Weddings and pearls. I don't know. Call me old fashioned. I just think pearls equal brides. So we're going to go ahead and add a couple of gold metallic pearls to our card front. And that's that. Let's clean up the mess here. Isn't that pretty? So easy and such a wow. And then there's lots of space on the back. You could stamp a sentiment. You got lots of room to write a heartfelt message on the back. But that is like a total wow, easy peasy wedding card. All right, so there are the 3 projects we made today. Now, before I let you go, I'm going to show you real quick the 5 projects that are part of my, look at this, I got ribbon everywhere, that are part of my upcoming Zoom class. So this is happening in January. It's live via Zoom. Only available to residents of Canada, unfortunately. But if you are interested, you can either shoot me a message, you can comment on the video. If you are a follower of my blog, it is posted on my blog, alacards.blogspot.com. And you can go to the upcoming events tab and the registration info is there. Okay, so quickly to show you. So this class includes 3 sort of basic cards. Okay. Well, they're not basic, they're standard cards, okay? They're still pretty wow. All right, so there's our 3, and then we have 2 fun folds. So we have this fun sort of variation on a tent fold, and then we have this awesome W fold, okay? So those are the 5 projects that are included in my class. It's coming up in January. It also includes the stamp set. Now, if you already have the stamp set, you can substitute for one of equal value. That's not a problem at all. You can just let me know at the time of registration, okay? All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me this week. As I mentioned, I am going to be taking next week off as I sort of unwind from an insane fall at school and sort of prepare for Christmas. But then I will be back big time after the holidays with my countdown to celebration. So I will see you in 2 weeks for day 1 of my countdown to celebration. All right. Okay, everybody, have a fantastic Christmas. I wish you all the best for the holiday season in whatever way you are celebrating. Be safe. I hope you get to celebrate with those you love, and I will see you after Christmas for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.